I'm going to be talking about the DIY essentials of looking after natural black hair. DIY meaning do it yourself. Okay? Nothing against hairdressers. My esteemed friend here is a hairstylist. But I think it's important to sort of have the tools. So the key question I would say is, how important is your hair to your ideas about identity and beauty? And in any conversation, I would say, with black women, women of African descent all over the world, I think this conversation is probably the most held conversation. If you get 2 or 3, women together, this can go on for hours and hours and hours. I've put some images up of women on, and Rudy Huxtable was my hero when I was a child. She was probably one of the only little black girls on television who I thought looked a bit like me, actually. And I used to say to my cousins, she looks like me. And they'd say, no, she doesn't. No, you don't look like her. Stop begging it. But the point was she was black, she had big eyes, and she used to run around really quickly, and I thought, she's like me. Anyway, and as I've gone through my life, I've had lots of different role models, and their hair has always somehow been important. We'll touch on a bit more about that later. And so, there is something now called the natural hair movement, which most people will be aware of, this idea of more and more black women all over the world, African women from the continent, from the Caribbean, from America, from Europe, UK, going natural. The idea that it's almost like there's a default position of not being natural, as in straightening your hair with heat or with chemicals or covering your hair in some way. And then now there's a sort of movement to go natural. And as part of this process, there's a lot of information now out there, most of it obviously online. And one of the bits of information which I was just discussing with Yemi there was about the hair typing system, where you have numbers 1 to 4, and it is sort of defining the pattern or the shapes that your hair makes strand by strand. So I have problems with those numbers. Okay, but 1 is the very, very straight hair, all the way down to 4C, which is very tightly coiled or tightly curled hair, okay? And there are people who are absolutely live by the types, and they'll say, my hair is a 4A type, or I will only look at, solutions for hair if it's to do with, my type of hair. I don't get too caught up in the hair types, but I think it's useful to understand it. One of the key things is to note that hair behaves differently under different circumstances. So if it's wet, you might put it under one number. If it's dry, another. Okay. So another question, what are your beliefs about your hair? And this is something which, again, as part of the ongoing conversation that African black women have, we could talk all day. We have words, we have such a wide vocabulary to describe our hair and how we feel about our hair. I've put some of the words, some words up there. Some of them actually are quite recent in reference to Afro black hair. Curly, coily, low porosity, high porosity. Afro is much more a familiar term. There are words that come to mind, some of them quite negative, which I wouldn't put on a slide, but they're words that we heard growing up to describe our hair in a negative way. There are words, I was talking to some colleagues at work yesterday, one of whom was saying, my hair's hard to control, my hair's coarse, my hair is rough. All these kinds of terms, and it kind of affects what we do with it. Do we hide it? If I'm going to wear it out, what do I do with it? If I'm a professional working in a bank, what do I do with my hair? All these kind of things are important to us. So I'm going to talk just about 5 tips for doing your hair, if you're African descent, black woman with Afro hair. Number 1, wash regularly. And it's really patronising, I'm sure. Everybody washes their hair. But, I've got my mum here. Wave, Mum. My mum is here. When I was growing up, I can remember feeling like, okay, I don't want Mum to wash my hair. Or I don't want to get my hair wet because water dries out my hair. That was a belief that I had. Water dries out my hair. Water makes my hair go like that. Okay, there's the idea that you always wanted to, especially if you were able to get your hair pressed, you had to protect it from water. In order to look well styled, well coiffed, you had to make sure that water didn't come anywhere near your hair. That kind of belief has to be undone if you're going down on the natural journey. Water is your friend. Wash in lukewarm water, not in piping hot water. And use a sulfate-free shampoo. Now, I will say this, when I started to investigate products that I could use for my hair, which would, really kind of make it healthy, I started to notice that it's not the front of the bottle that you've got to look at. Because at the front of a shampoo bottle will be a beautiful black woman. And you think, yeah, that will work. Or they've got a picture of an olive, and you think that's olive oil. Right. But actually, if you look at the back of the bottle, which would be my tip, make sure you are looking for ingredients that are natural ingredients. So anything that is a sulfate, or anything that says sodium, anything that says alcohol, anything that says petroleum, is not good for your hair. That, even though it's in a shampoo, in a beautiful green bottle with a nice black woman on the front of it, that's not your friend, okay? So avoid sulfates in shampoos. Try and use a sulfate-free shampoo. And there are many on the market. I've put pictures of the ones that I use there, but there are many, many others. If you go into Google and put sulfate-free shampoos, they all pop up. And actually, you can go into places like Boots, Superdrug, wherever, and get them. While you're washing your hair, use that time, especially if you're washing it in the shower or whatever, use your fingers to detangle your hair. Sometimes the hair can get tangled. Use your fingers to detangle it so that you don't have to do so much kind of combing through afterwards. Okay. Conditioning, using a hair conditioner. I think probably growing up, I thought conditioning was more. I associated it with the women in the adverts who needed to condition their hair. I didn't really relate to that, and so that's something that I started to do more often in the last probably 3 or 4 years. But there's conditioning, and there's also the trendy natural phrase co-wash, meaning just wash your hair with a conditioner because it's a lot milder. They also help to moisturize the hair after a wash. And similarly, as I said with shampoos, try to use a silicone-free conditioner after you shampoo your hair. Silicones can be anything ending in a cone. So you've got those long chemicals, the long words at the back of bottles, which are chemicals, and anything that ends in cone, conol, col, or zane should be avoided, okay? Because these silicones coat the hair and then stop the moisture from getting into it. And so you find that your hair, you'll get build up, and it's another way of kind of robbing your hair of the moisture that it actually needs. Leave in some conditioner just a little bit before you actually start drying your hair. Okay, so curly hair, afro hair, is delicate and it breaks easily. And as for people that have just come into the room, growing up, the words rough, coarse, tough, there are some associations with afro hair which would contradict the idea that the hair is delicate. It is actually delicate because it's coily or curly, those strands can break a lot more easily than somebody who has straight hair. Okay, so when you're drying your hair, dry it tenderly. Handle it with care. Does anybody get the towel and do that when they're drying their hair? Yeah, try to avoid doing that. And also, you want to remove the excess water from your hair and your scalp, but try not to use the normal bath towels, terry cloth towels. If you can, I have a clean t-shirt that I use. Use a microfiber cloth, dry it very tenderly, and I would say use heat sparingly or not at all. There are some natural hair warriors who will say to you, no heat at all, ever. It's the devil. I wouldn't say that, okay, but I would just say use it sparingly, okay? If you have time, like if you're like me and you have a hair washing day, like a Saturday or a Sunday, then air dry your hair in 2-strand twists, okay? So that means you're not actually doing anything to dry it, you just let the air dry it. Number 4, you got to seal your moisture in. Remember I said that obviously washing your hair is important. Water is important because it's the primary source of moisture. So you're sealing the moisture in with cream and oil. It's an easy way to remember it, cream and oil. And I'll explain what I mean by cream. There are lots of hair butters. Anybody heard of shea butter? People use shea butter. We use it for hair, use it for your skin. And obviously that's something that we're really familiar with, we use all the time. It's good for your hair. I would say that if you are just starting on your natural hair journey, you might find that you get one shea butter and it's too thick for your hair, or you find it hard to apply to your hair, or it's just too heavy. I definitely found that, and then I began to use lighter products, either the lighter sort of mixed version, or I started to just use conditioner and then just skip to the oil, okay? Just depends on your hair, you've got to feel it out. But the basic principle is that you put in the water, you seal it in with cream and oil. I would say use pure oils, so virgin olive oil, coconut oil, jojoba oil, and use it before your hair dries out completely. Paying special attention to the very ends of your hair, which sometimes get forgotten, particularly if your hair is very long. There's a lot of grease out there, greases that we love and that we grew up using. Can anybody name any of the hair grease?
Dax. Dax.
Okay, I had a friend of mine ask me on Facebook the other day, I can't understand, Marsha, can you help me with my hair? Because her hair's short as well. Can you help me with my hair? I'm washing it, I'm doing all the things you said, but it's still drying out. I said, what are you actually using? She said, I'm using Blue Magic, Dax. But I said, oh, God. You're completely drying it out. The grease is stifling your scalp and everything else. Stay away from the grease that pretends to be oil. All right. So you can save yourself a lot of money and time by remembering the basics. And I say this because when I started on the natural hair journey properly, I started to spend a lot of money on products. I was looking for a product that would make everything easy for me, and I would just put it in and then get the result. But instead of doing that, it's best to just remember the basics. Hydrate, moisturize, and seal with the things as I've outlined, staying away from the harmful chemicals. And also, it's not on the slide, but I'll just add, I cut my hair very, very low this time last year and began to grow it back in November. And I've begun a process of what I'm calling training my hair. I'm training the curls. So I don't know if you could see my hair. Can you see it?
Yes.
And what I do is I go through that process and then I twist each small clump of hair. I just keep twisting it and keep twisting it and keep twisting it to the point where now that when I wash it, some of the curls are still quite intact, okay? So this is the latest thing that I'm doing. I'm finding that actually if you keep your hair healthy as well as eating healthy and drinking lots of water, you find that your hair and your whole self are much more happy. The fifth tip is to feed your hair regularly. Feeding it meaning deep conditioning. And this is, I suppose, a bit of a luxury. If you have avocados lying around, if you have pawpaw, if you have Greek yogurt, natural yogurt, and you feel like feeding your hair, do that. You can put it on your hair after the wash and leave it on for 20 minutes under a cap. And there are lots of resources. My favourite is Natural 85. She does lots of blogs about the different recipes you can use. Okay, so that's just a summary of some of the essentials. Okay, and there's my information. If you're not on Instagram or Twitter, you need to get on Twitter or Instagram. That's where the conversation is happening. It's happening online. There are lots and lots and lots of bloggers and people that are doing this and are really sort of talking about it and sharing the knowledge. So thank you very much.
Well done.
Hi everyone, my name's Yemi. I'm going to be talking about something slightly different, and that's to do with hair issues for men in particular. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is male pattern baldness. And hair loss affects everyone, men and women, but it tends to occur in a characteristic way in men. So by the age of 30, about a quarter of men have started to lose some hair, and it typically starts to happen in the front of the hair, with the hairline particularly in the temple area, and then moves on to the crown region, which is at the very top of the scalp. And for each man, this is going to happen the process happens at a different rate, and there's also kind of different levels of prevalence between the races. So in terms of the mechanism of the way it actually happens, so within the hair follicle cells, the male hormone testosterone is converted to another more biologically active hormone called DHT via a special enzyme called the 5-alpha reductase enzyme. And then this binds to receptors and that causes basically the growth phase of the hair to shorten and for the hair follicle to shrink. And what this leads to is the hair becoming thinner over time, growing for a shorter length of time and growing slower, and that eventually results in somebody becoming bald. And so these are some of the ways that you can manage or treat the balding process. So that includes hair transplantation, so that's transferring some of the follicles from the back of the scalp towards the front and other areas that you're losing hair. You can also use medicines like minoxidil and Propecia. You can obviously use wigs, and you can use a new sort of method called scalp micropigmentation. So that's a type of special tattoo that gives the appearance of a very low haircut. And so in terms of the medications that you can use, minoxidil is mainly used in men, but if women are losing their hair and it's felt to be because of androgens, the hormones, they can also use it at a lower concentration. And this is a lotion that you apply to the scalp. It's not very clear exactly how it works, but it's felt that it helps to prolong the growth phase of each hair. It also has some side effects, so it can cause irritation. Any medicine that you use will have side effects. The other medication you can use is something you take orally, and that's called finasteride, and that inhibits that enzyme I was talking about earlier called the 5-alpha reductase enzyme. Another issue that men tend to face is folliculitis, and that's just inflammation of the hair follicle, and that can happen anywhere in the body, anywhere that grows hair, basically. And the reasons why the hair follicle might become inflamed include an infection, so bacterial infection or fungal infection, being blocked by cosmetic products, for example, and just general irritation of that area. And there's something else called pseudofolliculitis, and this tends to happen in people with curlier hair types, and it's basically when the hair is freshly shaved, it has a tendency to, the sharp hair ends have a tendency to go back into the skin and cause inflammation in the surrounding area. So it'll go ahead and cause this appearance that you see sometimes in the men's beard areas. And the way to manage this is obviously to leave the hair longer than you normally would, or to exfoliate the area. And if you are going to continue shaving, to shave in the direction of the follicles. Another thing that you could do is, instead of shaving, to use laser hair removal to avoid the whole process. And the last thing I'm going to talk about today is one type of scalp infection, and it's ringworms. Ringworms is actually a fungal infection which causes inflammation of the scalp and scaling of the scalp, and the fungus itself weakens the hair shaft and causes the hair to break off, and that's why you get the bald patches. It passes on from person to person through direct contact or using tools that have come into contact with somebody that's infected with the fungus, so such as combs and barber's instruments. The way it's treated is with oral antifungal medications or special antifungal shampoos. And those are all the things I have to talk about today. So very short. Let me know if you've got any questions.
Thank you, Marsha. Thank you, Yemi. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marlene Abua. I am a hairstylist. I've been hairstyling. I'm self-taught. I've been styling for about 22 years. Yeah, I know I don't look old enough, but I did start styling my own hair at a very young age, very, very young age. I started about 9 years old, which got the attention of a lot of people on the streets, people at school, and they all started asking, "Oh, Marlene, can you do my hair?" True to the fashion of a typical Igbo woman, of course I could do your hair, but you have to pay me. So my business officially started when I was 9 years old, and I'm now 31, and I'm still hairstyling today, doing it properly and professionally and loving it. Today I'm going to be talking about styling and the importance of, just looking after yourself. Marsha's talked about the importance of doing it at home, being able to know your hair type and actually be proficient in managing your hair at home and not having to, be discontented about it and having to say, oh, my hair's hard, my hair's coarse, all these words that have really horrible connotations behind them. They actually cause you to, sorry, lost my train of thought. Yes, but you understand where I'm coming from, don't you, right? And also Yemi's talked about the importance of male grooming and understanding issues for men. So I'm here to talk about styling. And if you can't do it at home, get someone to do it for you. It's so important to invest in yourself. So this is my website, Natural Glow. And the glow actually stands for God's light on earth. I believe that every single person in this room, there's a reason why your hair is the way it is. You're not cursed. I've had clients tell me, oh my goodness, God was angry when he created my hair, that's why it's hard and tough. And I'm just like, okay, you just haven't taken responsibility for managing it or understanding it. So if you don't have that time, it's important to invest in someone who does. I've had people calling me up and asking, oh, could I have a trim, treatment, braids down to my ankles? How much is that going to cost? Okay, it's going to be about so much. Oh my goodness, I got it done at so-and-so in Brixton for like £30. And I'm just like, okay, call them. Do you understand where I'm coming from? You're asking for a process that's going to cost in time about 6 hours. Someone's standing behind you, loving your hair for you, and you want to pay £5 for it. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. Invest in your hair. Invest, it's worth it. Love your hair and it will love you back. Or get someone who will love it for you. I know that's difficult. I hear that from a lot of my clients. It's really difficult to find natural hairstylists out there. I know, and I'm here to remedy that, hopefully. There'll be more and more of us popping up all around London. There's also this website called noscrunchy.com. Some of you may or may not have heard of it. But on there you can find customer-reviewed salons all over the country, and in your area there will be somebody that can serve your needs if you can't get to me or with that said, I actually wanted to talk about the importance of encouraging the next generation to love their hair. We've all grown, well, pretty much 90% of clients I meet have grown up with the perception that there was something wrong with them and their hair doesn't grow because, that's just what happens with Afro hair. And it's not your fault, because we probably learnt that from the generation before us, who probably learnt it from the generation before them, who probably learnt it, and, you catch what I'm throwing at you. So as Western cultures infiltrated our lands, we started wanting long, flowy hair, just like you find in Western cultures. Therefore, we lost a lot of traditions we used to have in order to maintain our hair types. Therefore, it's important for us to regain that information and learn. The internet is a beautiful thing. Like Marsha pointed out, there's so many bloggers out there, there's so many internet websites that can give you information on how to maintain hair. One that I absolutely love, it's called Chocolate Hair by Chocolate Hair Vanilla Care. It's actually by a white lady who adopted a young, I think her daughter was about 6 days old when she adopted her. And she made it her life's goal to understand her daughter's hair because she knew that it was her identity. How beautiful is that? If we, as Black people, actually took that time to invest that knowledge into our children, how much more would they appreciate what came out of their hair? Now, of course, I'm not adverse to anything unnatural, because as you can see, I'm a natural blonde, but anyway, that's besides the point. That's besides the point. I'm not adverse to relaxers. I'm not adverse to dyeing your hair. You can do whatever you want with your hair. All I am preaching today is take responsibility for learning about what you're doing. Make informed decisions. Get someone who can do it for you if you can't do it for yourself. Get someone who's knowledgeable enough to do it for you so that you don't end up with disasters. you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, so over the Easter, I always have loads of children coming to me, well, their mothers bringing them to me to get their hair done for the next school term coming. And it's so sad when I get a 3-year-old sat in my chair asking to have hair from Frozen. Elsa, I don't know if any of you have seen Frozen. I tried to watch it like 3 or 4 times, I fall asleep. Anyway, I know who Elsa is, and I get 3, 4-year-olds asking me, oh, can I have the Elsa hair? And they're doing this. And that means they want long hair and blonde. And they want it to look like yours. And I'm just like, honey. You know, and their mothers are complaining, oh, you know, she just doesn't like her hair, and really complaining. But, Mum, what's your example? That 29-inch Brazilian. Or, you know, I'm not, sorry, nothing against weaves or anything. I do them day in, day out, and I recommend them for protective styling. But you catch what I'm throwing at you. If you're not, if you are not preaching, you know, and doing what you are preaching to your children, how can they have an example? They won't have one. All they're going to want is, you know, Elsa hair looks like that, you know. And I get children screaming and crying. They're wanting all these elaborate, you know, styles and colours, and it's not necessary. It really isn't. And a lot of this elaborate styling and stuff, actually, mothers, we can actually learn to do it ourselves from, like Marsha gave some amazing DIY tips. We can learn to look after our children's hair at home, just like this woman did. I mean, she is, look, here she is up here. Her name escapes me, but, you know, her daughter's about, I don't know, her daughter's a lot older now, but this website actually depicts her journey. She actually taught herself to thread. Which Nigerian woman in here knows how to thread? Okay, God bless 3 of you. Well done. Threading. I don't even know what threading is. Oh my goodness, threading. Threading, man, not wool, with plastic thread. What we thread our hair when, I was born in Nigeria. I didn't say this at the beginning. I was born in Nigeria, moved here when I was 6. So I've had my hair threaded. Back home, it was not a problem. We would walk around with our little pineapple styles. It was fantastic. And we got here, and we didn't see anything like that. And we were ridiculed, and then we just wanted long, flowing Elsa hair. And, you know, led to the chemical treatments and so forth. Anyway, I came to my senses at 9 years old and started styling my own hair, and, you know, the rest is history. But, you know, I just want to urge mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers in here. It's so important to encourage the younger, the next generation, so that they can encourage the ones that come after them to invest in themselves and love themselves, because a lot about who you are actually starts from, it's actually in your hair, it's in your makeup.